Good evening. Welcome to the TST 101 course, Spring 2020. So today, I just wanted to introduce myself and go through the syllabus, and I will start with some fundamental questions, and about a discussion will be about knowledge in general. So those who have questions, you can use the chat button. So I have muted all of you. You don't have to try to unmute. You won't be able to. That option is not available right now, but later I will give you the option. So you can unmute later, but right now, if you have any questions in between, you can chat. Use the chat window. So the chat window is available next to the manage participants or somewhere near pause recording. It depends on the program. So you can use that, and you can chat if you have any questions, or you can write down, and at the end I will give you the time for question and answers. But right now I don't want any interruptions unless they really we need to, because I want the lectures to be clean so that when it's recorded, it's available to others after the class. So right now, I just wanted to introduce myself. I am Dr. Shan Lakshmanan, or Shanmugamurthy. My full name is Shanmugamurthy Lakshmanan. I have a experience in ancient science for more than close to 30 years, but it could be more than that, since it's a traditional knowledge. But when I'm formally learning, it's at least close to 30 years. At a very young age, I was involved in traditional knowledge, but I had to come to the United States for higher educations. I have like 4 or 5 master's degree in different areas, and mostly I was interested in the fundamental science, which is physics, applied physics. So I applied for a PhD program. I got selected from 5 with full funding. So I came to the United States. I did my PhD here. I even did a master's here, and then I went to PhD. And I had so much of knowledge, but about the traditional knowledge that I had, but these were nowhere close to what mainstream is talking about. So there was a huge a quantum leap between these two knowledges that I had versus what the traditional knowledge is teaching us. So I was trying to connect, and it was very difficult initially. I had to, if I belong to a particular organization, the world in the scientific world would treat me as a religious person, and that's how it is treated even today. Whereas if I completely have to do the scientific way, then we have limitations in the science. Science doesn't allow certain things to do. For example, I wanted to do a research on photomedicine by having lamp gazing kind of, Trataka kind of experiments, where you can really see the results out of it. But that was not allowed even in a place such as Harvard Medical School, which seemed to have a integrated practice. So when we say integrated practice, there is a lot of limitation in the Western system. So there is a real challenge here. So I understand that most of the people from the Indian background and that are coming here, today most of them have software knowledge, and very limited knowledge about, maybe some people may have business knowledge, but very few come for a full scientific thing, such as you are coming to a physics, chemistry, this kind of areas. Especially in physics, we have limited number of people. The reason is that if you wanted to really understand the how the scientific parameters work, even in the medical field, you need to really have a little bit of background on the physics, because then you know that how they construct the axioms, such as understanding electricity or magnetism, etc. So these all are based on certain kind of theories. So if you look at from that perspective, then you can really understand the core of how the fundamental structure of the whole medical system is devised here. So I'm going to go through a lot of things so that you first understand that what knowledge is basically, and what are we learning at the current system. So why we are limited by the current knowledge. So that's where I'm going to take you. So the current knowledge is limited, and this will not solve the problem. We will continue to have problems in terms of our health, and so the only way is to expand that knowledge. And the current knowledge has a very good framework, and nobody can deny on that. But with that framework, we have limited perspective. It is very limited sectarian, and so it's not wholesome. It doesn't consider many parameters that are required for a full health. So I like to share you some slides here. So I'll give you a break in between, so don't have to worry if you're even cooking or something. So I'll give you, like, 5 to 10 minutes break in between, so you can go back. Come, if you have anything. So so the question here is, what is transdisciplinary science? So you're so you have a real question about the fundamentals of transdisciplinary science. So transdisciplinary science, the definition I would say is not just one branch of science. If you have to look from different branches of science, say for example, in a modern perspective, when you call transdisciplinary, we have a transdisciplinary department in Binghamton, SUNY Binghamton University. So what really they mean is like different disciplines like biology and technology, engineering, all this math, all are combined, and you can have a department as such when you call it. But what really I mean, transdisciplinary is not just limited to Western syllabus. So transdisciplinary includes Western. We're not neglecting or removing Western, but we have other traditional knowledge. You can take a traditional knowledge from a different culture, such as the ancient Indian culture, or it could be Chinese, it could be Egyptian culture. So there is no the Native Americans. So each tradition has different cultures, and they have a different kind of knowledge, and this knowledge fused together, and that's what is called transdisciplinary science. And that is essentially a new perspective for science and technology, because so far science and technology, or when we say science and technology, we really mean Western science and technology. So we are not considering other types of knowledge that are hidden in different cultures, traditions, etc. And then what I mean is the sage scientists versus ordinary people. So when we say sage scientists, these are people who have access to certain type of knowledge directly. So it's not like you go to a traditional school, or you can learn some, read some books, but you are not creating that knowledge. So traditional scientists, sage scientists, they they create from the universe. There are many ways of looking at it. So you are, there is so much. We have to differentiate and understand the difference between a normal scientist versus a sage scientist. Uh, Normal scientists are, you can say, they are paid. They have a deadline, so they are under pressure. So they work under pressure, and they produced what is under pressure. Whatever you can produce under pressure. Whereas a sage scientist is one who is not under pressure, but they directly access the knowledge from the source, which means there is a frequency which they tune in to get the knowledge from the fundamental consciousness, from where all knowledge arrives. So that's one thing. And then, if that is the case, how many sage scientists are there? There are millions. So the unlimited number of sage scientists, actually, that knowledge is available, accessible, but when you fuse together, it becomes a transdisciplinary science, and the technology is also available. And so that's also called a co-realization model. So which means they all are realized in a way, but they haven't co-realized yet. So which means we have to do that, which is to fuse this knowledge together to understand as a very a continuum instead of a discrete pattern. So when now we understand things such as like a discrete pattern, and right now we learn it in that way. For example, you may go to a guru and learn something, and then you do not connect that knowledge with another guru. Either you stay with that guru, or you completely forget him and you go to another guru, and then you talk about this guru is bad, that was limited, he had limited knowledge, that kind of thing, instead of seeing the connection between that and this guru. So that kind of a knowledge. So I hope you understand better in the later stages as we go through the class. In a broader sense, when I say transdisciplinary, to me, it's also transcending the current knowledge to a wisdom-based knowledge, just not limited to knowledge. Of course, knowledge is also important, but it's a very small parameter when it compared to the huge knowledge that is available. So next, um, so I have some questions, fundamental questions. You can ponder upon this. You can type down if you want. So are you really happy with your current health condition? That's the question number one. Are you thinking that you're safe and you don't have any problems, and this will remain the same? Are you really scared about your health? So this is one fundamental question I wanted to ask you. Do you have an idea about how much you have to earn and what will make you happy? For example, I say you're coming with a plan, and you're saying, I want so and so, this is how much of apartments I have to have own in New York City, or you have so many cars, different types of Teslas or any other future cars. So what will make you happy? How much will make you happy? Did you define that? Did you already define that when you have all this, you will be happy? No. So that's another question. Do you really love your current job from your heart? Oh, I really. Well, if you're really loving your current job, for example, I love my current job, and if I am not paid, I'll be happy. It's okay. I do not care whether you pay or not. Somebody pays or not will not matter to me. My passion is I want to teach, I want to learn. This is the passion that I have. So can you continue your job if you're not paid with the same passion? So that's the question. If you're not paid, will you do the same job? So if you're really passionate about it, it will be reflected in that. Okay, so you will not worry about whether you're paid or not. Okay, so what is your aim in life? So do you have a aim in life? What is your aim? So I want to be a doctor. Okay, so and then look at all the patients. Is that the aim of your life? It's a professional aim. I'm talking about an aim in life, not a career. Okay, so do you have a real aim in life? So I want all of you to type down very short in the chat button, and this will be useful for you. You can even write down if you want. Um, these are very fundamental questions. It will be very useful for you. You just go through this, and every time see whether this question is answered. When you're able to answer this question, there are some certain problems that will be solved automatically. You don't need any effort for that. So these are some of the questions. If you just take a quick glance, you may, if you want to chat on the chat button, it is the chat button. I told you how to use the chat button. The chat button is next to that. If you choose everyone, it will go to everyone. Or if you want to personally chat with me, you can choose my name. There is a drop down and it will allow only my name. You can respond either way. Either way is fine, but it will be, if it's open to everyone, everybody can see and they can answer. So Sanjay Murthy says why. Okay, so Sanjay Murthy, yes. So yeah, but I'm asking these 4 questions, so you can answer. Number 1, are you happy? No, boss. Sorry. Okay, so all right. So current health, somewhat happy. Somewhat happy. Suri says somewhat happy. Okay. Lakshmi says not sure. Okay. Jayanti says current health, not happy. Happy. Elumalai says happy. Good. All right. Not happy with the health. Not happy. Need to improve. Okay. Need to improve. Sundar. Balram. Current. Okay. Anybody else? What about the second one? Let's see. I just go by statistics. You just randomly, some of you to the 1, yes, 2, yes, not sure, 3, 4, be happy. Yes. So yes, not sure. And from PCB Outlook, okay with few complaints. Not sure. I think they are answering number 1. So yeah. So is earning as per the 401k retirement plan. So can you do answer like 2? What will you? Why will you have? When will you be happy? When will you be happy? You write down. You see, you don't have to be like hiding things. Like you can be very open. It'll be helpful for everyone. What you think? What will make you happy? If you have more, and how much? If that is the case, how much? You want to become a billionaire, okay, and then give it to somebody. Oh, you're the best. So will that make you happy? If you become a billionaire and you give everyone, will you really be happy? You're the best philanthropist in the world. Right? So you can type down, let's see the question number 2. You need more people. Okay. Okay, not sure. Okay. Right. Changes as the time passes. So it's a time bound. Anu says. Okay. All right. So yeah, so what about 3? Good health, lot of knowledge, lot of money, respect, teach people to remove suffering, loving job. I love my job, I cannot continue without being paid. Yes, okay. Happiness not correlated to uh, possession. Okay, possession probably. Okay. um do you like your job? Do you love your job? Will you do it freely? If you love your job, you're passionate about it, you will not mind how much case you make. But it's a very difficult situation, you cannot stay that way. We have to rely on money, right, for living. But for somebody very passionate, they will do it at any cost. You give $1, they will do. You give $1,000, it's the same output. So somewhat love the job but cannot for free. Job for survival. Like my job but not for free. Don't like the job, just getting paid. I love my job, it's getting me money. We'll be happy to help people in their illness and also help prevent the recurrences. Dhanasekar. Okay. All right. So good. So let's go to the last question. What is your aim in life? And who gave you this knowledge about your aim? Did somebody already give you the knowledge, or you already have the knowledge? Okay, this is my aim in life. This is what I want to become. And why? What is driving you? I mean, so for example, I want to be a doctor. Why? I want to heal people. Why? Because people have problems. So therefore you're solving their problems. And is that the aim that you were born for? That was the aim. Who gave this aim to you? So Anu says, realize the purpose of life. Got this from my guru. Okay, so you get some knowledge from gurus, right? Somebody has to give you knowledge. So one way or the other, you have to get some knowledge. Otherwise, without that base, you cannot build your own knowledge. So you need to learn from somebody in the beginning. It could be your parents, it could be your education system, or it could be some organization, some gurus, traditional knowledge. So yes, so the whole idea is, if you try to answer these questions, if you keep changing and changing and changing, at one point you don't change, then you have your answer. So I would like everyone to take a picture or something, but I'm going to share anyways. The video will be shared with everyone. Everything will be available, the class, but still you take a picture so that understand. These are very fundamental questions, will be very helpful as you go make your life. So here, so now, so let us see where our knowledge comes from. Okay, so the knowledge, so whether are you if I ask you, are you a service provider or a customer to the planet? So when I'm saying knowledge, are you giving knowledge to people or are you gaining knowledge? So what would be the max? You wanted to do something to the planet with your knowledge, or do you wanted to gain the knowledge from the planet, or is it vice versa? Or where does your knowledge come from? Where does this whole knowledge come from? Do you produce your knowledge, or does it come from your learning experience and other kind of things that you do, or do you directly have the knowledge? What is a direct knowledge in that case? So you can type down, so let us see, whether you are here to give a knowledge, are you a person who can give a knowledge and teach people, or you just wanted to always learn from others and not do anything. You are always a customer. You're not a service provider, right? So who are you in this? You can chat down and you can go to the next SEO. So now let us, you have any chats? Okay. Learn and teach. From Guru, the life experience, especially also learn from the world. Aim in life, give education to my children, be happy with my family and society. Learn and teach, Balakrishnan. Gain knowledge and use of others. Learn and share the knowledge. Okay. So you have different, want to learn knowledge and help people with wherever I gained. Okay. So let's see. So, now let's come to a common knowledge about the World Health Organization. So many of you know it is the World Health Organization is supposed to be a very universal organization. Very unfortunate that it's not the way we think, even though it is doing great service different parts of the world, but the way it is structured is not very universal because of the way the UNO is having veto power for few countries, etc., etc. Because I had a chance to go and present our work, our syllabi into the United Nations in the WHO organizations, and it happened to be like that even the the knowledge that we think universal is not universal. It is still limited to Western view of the planet. So that's how it is designed. So still in that perspective itself, they have included something which is good. So health, the definition of health is, according to World Health Organization, is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So even though it is limited, it is sectarian-based, cultural-based, limited, and incomplete, but still it is valuable, because at least from a modern perspective of a medical doctor, which consider only physical health as health, this is a broader sense of health. So for example, when I am saying of what a traditional doctor does versus a modern doctor, excuse me, modern doctor does so when you are reaching a modern doctor, for example, you're having a stomach pain and you're going to a doctor. So what is the first thing that the doctor will do? Traditionally, it used to be like they ask you, what did you eat? Number one. And the second thing they would ask is, what about your bowel movements? Right? So these are two fundamental questions a doctor asks in a very traditional, not only traditional, even a modern doctor. If you go back 20 years back, a doctor, even in India, you probably will be practicing even modern doctors is a Western medical system, but still the doctor has a placebo effect. He has created a a charismatic placebo that people like him, because even if he gives some Saridon or some simple medicines, I forgot all those medicines, it works for everything. So these doctors, they are more intelligent in terms of finding whether you have a problem. They look at, what did you eat? Did you eat restaurant food last night. You went to a, in South India we call kotu parata. It's made up of maida, which is all it causes all kind of problems. So you will ask whether did you eat this, and yeah, that's how you come to a conclusion. Even that is a narrow view, but you have at least identified, like, okay, one of the ingredients is wrong, in this, and that could have caused this problem. And that's how it concludes. Today you just go, there is just blood work, do that, they look at urine test, that test, and then look at the numbers. And if you have something, like this, generally you will look for, some general chemical that is given to everyone. There's a pattern, what would not be helpful. It's not going to solve your problem, but it's temporarily going to stop that, and it is recommended to everyone, right? So that is how they look at. So for example, even if you go to a doctor and ask him, these doctors wouldn't know that what you ate, because you come from a different tradition, and they may not know what is that available in that, the food that you're eating. There may be some jeera, there might be some, jeera is a cumin seeds. You may be eating some, very tamarind, and it could cause problems. For example, tamarind, if you eat a lot of tamarind, you will have gas problems, and that gas can enter into, like, it looks like a heart attack. You'll have joint pains, etc., etc., right? So, and if you're a type of body type, which we will discuss later, one type of body type, it will be aggravated, for example. So then these traditional doctors, I'm saying the modern doctors are not aware of this, for example. So immediately, because that this knowledge is not available, that a sour taste can cause these kind of problems, then, without knowing that knowledge, you're exposed to different kind of medicine, and you will have a lot of problem because of that. So here we have a real big challenge in how to, how to really solve, there is no connection. If especially when a tradition from the Eastern tradition, it doesn't mean just Eastern tradition, it could be also from other traditions in the different cultures who are, like, very conscious. Even in the United States, those questions are not normally asked by the modern doctor. They're not worried about all those things. They just wanted to give some medicine, and just to solve the problem temporarily, and they are out of, any legal things, so you have to take all the scans and everything. So this is how they treat. So now there is a real need for understanding the design of this entire system. So that's why you have to understand what knowledge is. So you cannot accept just that because it is a very formal system, and it looks like the Western medical system looks like it is, it is doing really well, is not as we think it is. So I will tell you the loopholes in the system, which can be fixed by integrating the ancient wisdom, ancient knowledge. So that's what we are going to. So, but before that, we need to understand what is knowledge in general. So when I'm saying what is knowledge, when I'm discussing about knowledge in general, knowledge means, here you have this knowledge, small knowledge, and that's what I mean knowledge. What that really means is, pull it here. This knowledge. So under this knowledge, we have knowledge, which is a small k. Remember, this is a big K, and under the big K, we have all these 7 different knowledges. So the small k knowledge. Then we have intuition. Then we have oral tradition, traditional knowledge, traditional experience, perspicacity, wisdom, and instinct. So these are different types of knowledge forms. So today when we consider, we always think that this is the knowledge, that based on this only we see whether a person is knowledgeable or not, the small k. And we often neglect like 1/7 of this, you know, all the knowledge that people have is been completely neglected. So often you think that people have this kind of knowledge by reading books and memorizing and keeping on memorizing things, and that becomes part of a knowledge. There is no addition, value added addition to that. You know, it's just like you can do in modern ways. You know, you take this knowledge, they take this knowledge, you're fusing together, but you're not creating anything out of this. Without creativity, you try to fuse, and then you make two mistakes are already there. You combine those two mistakes, you make a bigger mistake, and then you know you keep on, the errors keep on building, and then you supply this knowledge, and you now provided as a curriculum to everything. You know, oh, this is this curriculum, this is that curriculum, and it's all business based. You know how the it's all commerce, right? So that's how the current knowledge is. So we need to understand what is intuition, oral tradition. Each one we will go through. So one other thing between knowledge and intelligence is it's knowledge is an expression and intelligence is a potential of it. For example, the difference between a potential energy and kinetic energy. So when you say potential energy, it holds everything. So I'm holding something here on top of my hand, and I'm having a iron ball, and this is having all the potential energy, because when I release it, it's going to go down with the kinetic energy. So that means it has the potential. So intelligence is the potential of that collected knowledge inside, and when it is expressed, it becomes knowledge. So that's the difference between intelligence and knowledge. So even in intelligence, we have neglected many things which will come back again, such as emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence, today we call it as emotional intelligence, but I can go very deep into emotional intelligence. It's a whole new chapter, and how emotional intelligence can also help in healing. So healing, as I told you, we are not limiting ourselves to only physical way of looking at our body, and that is the big problem now, the biggest problem. Because when you put that way, you look everything as a material, and oh, this is an anatomy of your body. You have this like a car mechanics. You know, you have different parts of the car. You treat this part, it'll be fine. You know, you remove a heart, put another heart, and it'll function. So this is a very, very, very limited way. Even though it could function, it doesn't mean you have understood the whole mechanism in how it works. So you need like what emotional intelligence, how this can heal you in terms of your mind, in terms of your cellular level and your DNA. This is very important. And understanding the sustainable intelligence is more understanding about family, how your family relationship, environmental and other things that are sustainable, that will impact health. So that's a very important thing. So we'll go through each of these after probably it's after the break, but before that we can go to the different types of knowledges, and then we'll come back. So knowledge, if you look at most knowledge, ancient knowledge we can say, and modern knowledge. So today's knowledge, ancient knowledge, like a lot of the sage scientists who wrote these books, beautiful books, and this is a copper plate. It could be in what we call Walachudi, which is palm manuscripts. All are different forms of even carving, all are different forms of intelligence stored in a form. So that is one kind of intelligence. But this intelligence, how did they get this intelligence? This intelligence is direct. It's not YouTube or learning things from, of course they have to learn or refer something. Every sage scientist have some knowledge by reading some books or prior to that sage scientist. But if you look at vast of the work that they have done is from their own intelligence, which means they are going to a space directly, they're downloading information from the consciousness, and then they're putting in their own way. So there will be an expression that is limited to a character. So they have their own character, and that character will express things. So there is that knowledge is there. Examples, many things such as Tirukural. A Tirukural is a very well known text by one sage scientist called Thiruvalluvar, right? So Thirumandiram, for example, these are examples of a sage scientist, Thiruvaruppa. So when we call Thiruvaruppa, there is, these are our most traditional South Indian sage scientists whom I ever, that's one thing that I know of. But there are so many sage scientists in India and even in the East, in many traditions. So they are in Tibet, Nepal, China. There are so many sage scientists. But I'm just giving you the names that I know, which doesn't mean it's not limiting to a culture or something, but different traditions are there everywhere. So they all contributed in one way or the other. So this knowledge today, do we learn or read all this knowledge, and do we use that as a parameter to check whether, oh, okay, do you know this knowledge and are you intelligent? If you read these books, are you going to be intelligent? So how do you measure your intelligence? If somebody knows Thirukural fully and he applies that in his life, does he get a job? He won't get a job. Is he intelligent? No, because his spouse will not accept him as an intelligent. It's very difficult for him to get married to. So it's so this is the situation. So when can this be really turned into a knowledge? So we'll look into that. So now the current books that we read, where did that knowledge come from? So I want you all to say who author your school books, and where did this knowledge come from? What you have learned in schools, where did this knowledge come from? And why do you trust this knowledge? You tell me. I'll give you an example of Newton. There was no experiment done by Newton to see in the beginning to see if the apple fell down. That's it. Gravity was already there. It's nothing that Newton found gravity. Gravity is already there. Apple fell down. But how do you think that this is intelligence? If that is intelligence, right? So what you think that this kind of knowledge is available by is given by different scientists at different times, but in the beginning there is nothing called evidence based. Remember, evidence based come much later. But did we accept this? Did we accept these theories in the beginning? Did we accept, okay, Newton found this and there is some truth in this, so let us explore? Did we do that? So think about it. So who authors? So let's say this simple question: who authors your school book? What is the motivation behind authoring books? You can tell me really quick. So I think, yeah, you go ahead. You can type down. So I just wanted to bring this a little down. Okay, so who authors? You can type down who authors your school books, and what is the motivation behind authoring books in general? What would be a motivation? If you're writing something, what would be the aim of that? Suppose you're authoring something, right? What would be your aim? You can type down. Yeah. People experience in a field, authors the book of the subject. Motivation is spreading knowledge. Okay. So professional writers to share the knowledge and also make some money. Okay. So yeah, well, definitely useful and reproduce. All right. But today, what we are learning in schools, example, right? You're learning from schools. And if you look at, I learned in an syllabus called ICS in India, where are different kind of syllabus. You know, you have like state board, Anglo-Indian, matriculation, CBSE, ICSE, different kind of boards. And ICSE seem to be a little better than other, thing, because at least there is no memorizing, right? But what did I learn? I learned only books that were written by somebody unknown. I don't know them, and I don't know if they have contributed to the world in any way, such as somebody like Thiruvalluvar, whom I can trust, who has given so much solutions for the world problems. He is globally thinking, but this is not available. This knowledge is not available in a book form. But somebody writes that. I don't care about who wrote, but it goes inside me. So this collective knowledge comes from the West, and whether it is right or wrong is a different story. So the West in general, um, there is a force that is created to market everything. So that is how the tradition here is compared to what we have been living in the past, because there is nothing called economic model or anything for everything. Today they are trying to change. In India also things are changing, but in many countries people are like living happily, even in Romania, and places, even in the European countries there are places where they are really happy. In South America or Africa, nothing is influencing them, and suddenly now the world market, when you say globalization and kicking, oh, I wanted to make money, I want to do this, so I have to push. So every knowledge is now come, education is become a business. And therefore when you do some education, when you sell education, you get money revenues. So this is how the current education system is, and what we have undergone is the current education system, which is completely based on that. And who authors and who makes the syllabus is all, it's a business model. Somebody finds a BP machine, that company would completely produce something to say that this is the best machine. So they need to have people who can go and check their BP. So they will create that kind of a market for that at any cost, because the investment is like huge. So um, the examples of knowledge are whatever we read from books, whatever we listen. So for example, I'm talking and you're listening, so this is a type of knowledge we have. And then you have other knowledge is called the oral tradition. So oral traditions such as you listening to a music, or these all are, as you say, mantras, for example. You recite a mantra, and that mantra should be exactly with the same pitch, same kind of notes, and all these are becomes very important, and it's traditionally carried. You don't need a book or anything. It is mostly traditionally carried. Even if you have books, how to read that mantra is very important. So this tradition is called oral tradition. So oral tradition is also a knowledge. So you cannot neglect this knowledge. Like knowledge just came from the books, oral tradition has its own dimension. It's a type of knowledge, it's type of intelligence. Not everybody can do that, and it means everybody could do it. Potentially they have that sense, but we have not been trained in that. We have to give opportunity should be given for the young kids to see whether it's not about whether it's a Sanskrit or it is a Tamil. That's not the thing. The whole thing is that you're are you able to produce something the way so this intelligence, by producing something, do you get some benefit? Do you get some health benefit? Do you get your brain is engaged in something? It's a calculation, and it activates certain part of the brain that can have access to higher intelligence, whatever it is. So is that important for the younger generation to learn this and value that as a knowledge, or a music, for example. So music is also oral tradition. If you want to understand, it is just that's why we call Karna, through the years, Carnatic, right? So Carnatic music, for example. So you learn through certain patterns. You have to understand what the swarasthanas are, where this is, So by understanding that, it's a new kind of intelligence. So that intelligence comes only when you're listening and listening and listening and listening, and that intelligence you cannot get it through books. So you have to have a teacher for that, and the teacher will give you the value of it, and you need a physical teacher to learn that. So this is a or your traditional Siddha and Ayurvedic medicine. So they teach you this is how you have to do the massage from top to down, and this is how these are the roots, and this is not written in books. This knowledge is not available in books. You have to see and you learn from your master or through oral tradition. One tradition, one my grandparent was a doctor. Mine is, my father was a doctor. So this is how the tradition. I'm 14th tradition doctor, Siddha doctor, and you see that this is the amount of knowledge you carried and you develop on top of it. It's not that you're telling the same thing, but also you add on to that knowledge. So this oral tradition is a very important thing, even though it may not be documented. It may, people cannot document everything. Maybe they have bits and pieces of books and everything, but they will keep it as a secret, and give it to others also. But because of the because intellectual property is not about intellectual property, it could be misuse of the intellectual property of a tradition. So they have to hide in a certain way, because of the way people can misuse and mishandle this. So there is this knowledge cannot be neglected, and you cannot say, hey, you don't have you don't have any evidence and things like that. It's a very narrow way of asking such questions. You don't have evidence, like modern thing, but what have you done? At least they have carried this traditional knowledge so far, but what is your role in this, the whole thing, right? And similarly, miscellaneous traditional cultural expressions, there could be many things in learning from different dimensions, not only one form of art or medicine. It could be in different areas. So that's also called oral tradition. So this traditional knowledge should also be respected. Traditional experience. So traditional knowledge is knowledge which is kind of words and maybe some video kind of images and words. So there is a imagination there and words there. Whereas some things comes us very naturally. So which is coming through our experience. Experience is a different kind of knowledge. So experience, people, some of you, your parent or grandparent, there is a farmer, you will automatically get that in your gene, right? So that gene, your body cells and everything, brain cells, seed cells have that makeup, and you are automatically fit to become a farmer. You can do the work very easily. So this is a knowledge that is available to you, which cannot be measured. Somebody saying, hey, are you intelligent? Yes, I am intelligent. I know farming, but you don't know. You know only to read the books. But you seem to market yourself to say that you are the best because you know many things by reading the books. But this intelligence is an amazing intelligence that I have. So similarly, your I'm giving in examples. Okay, yoga is a intelligence as such. Driving is not, but you can get that experience if somebody is a good driver. You can become, your parent is a big driver. That's in the modern day. If you're wanted to do like you're driving your car with speed, your kids will catch up that very soon. The next generation, they wanted to go 100 miles per hour. If you're starting at 60 miles per hour, 65 miles per hour in 50 miles per hour road, your kid, they wanted to go 100 miles per hour. So that is also, it's a modern thing, but traditional experience will come from your own experience, and that is a physical experience. There is no expression in terms of word, but it will be imprinted in the body, and the body will try to do this, right? Perform this. So now the art example, you know how to make a column or rangoli, and that, or a dance, for example, kuchipudi or bharatanatyam or any kind of dance that are even in any other culture, you could say that that kind of a dance will automatically come, as an art form, and that dance cannot be performed if it is very easy for some people to perform that dance, whereas it will be difficult for somebody else, and because of the intelligence. So you cannot neglect that this is not intelligent, because you can be intelligent in one way or the other. So this is also intelligence, right? So some games can change. For example, a game can show them how to solve a problem, and they know what this kind of a situation, just by learning that game. In some ancient games, they will know, oh, okay, I can solve these problems when a modern situation is happening, so they can correlate with that. And similarly, architecture, such as many of these, see, if you look at the architecture, this is a Thoda architecture. This is a Thoda community. This is an intellectual property of that the Thoda community, and they form a different kind of house back in India. So this is from a Badaga community in Nilgiris. So they have a highly vastu intelligence, and so this intelligence, this kind of architecture could be from any architecture, like Chinese bamboo art, or pottery. So these all are also intelligence. You cannot neglect that. Oh, this is not intelligence. They know how to build. They know how to make a pot, and this is a real type of intelligence that they have. And these are not measured in the modern sense. And then experiencing energy, such as somebody can experience what is meditation. If I ask you to meditate, and somebody says, oh, I don't know what meditation means, I cannot close my eyes, I don't know what energy means, I cannot feel the your third eye palpitations, or I cannot like throw energy, what do you mean by pranic healing? I don't get anything. So this intelligence, this is also a type of intelligence. This comes through experience, and this comes through an energy experience, and it also could be a traditional knowledge that it triggered, or it could even be a knowledge that can immediately trigger for somebody at some point. But these all are experiential knowledge, most of them. You cannot, somebody experiencing something is an intelligence. If I am able to heal using my prana or chi, then I have a different kind of intelligence. But you cannot measure those intelligence, right? It's not measured. You cannot say, oh, I'm not, this is the only way of intelligence. You have a, you don't know anything about this. I may not be knowing, even I may not be knowing how to explain this, but still I will be able to heal but that's also intelligence, right? If I'm able to explain, then that's something great, but it doesn't mean I don't have that intelligence. And many of the things such as sensory experiences. So in modern knowledge, we are only talking about audio or video as intelligence. Mostly the word, for example, you read something and you reproduce it. But did you taste something and were you able to find an intelligence in that? For example, I give you some um, different vegetables and fruits or spices, and I ask you to find the different tastes. 6 types of tastes are there. Identify those tastes. What will you do? Will you be able to identify that exactly? Do you understand that? So if people are there, I used to be a tea taster, and tea taster as special type of knowledge. You have to be in celibacy for a few years. This is long time I'm talking about, 25 years back. So, and you have to have certain kind of discipline, and you should be very sensitive. Otherwise, you won't know whether it's a good tea or not. So so you have to identify what kind of astringent taste it has, or some other the sweetness it has, or bitterness exactly, and then you can say, okay, this is a good tea, right? So so the taste is a different kind of intelligence. So this intelligence, we are not testing our kids with this intelligence. So this is a very incomplete knowledge. If you don't have that kind of an intelligence, you will be limited in terms of your health if you're able to taste all the 6 types. So that's why in young age we expose the kids, very little age. In our tradition, people give all the 6 types of taste. Everything that's included. 6 types of taste is included. Even in a little medicine that they give, they will give different types of taste so that you sense that taste, and so that every cells in the brain will be activated in that domain that is meant for the taste. So the brain has different domains such as taste, smell, sound, touch, and also the video, right? So the which is light, right? But usually when we are talking about sensory experiences, we do not talk about whether you can smell something. Can you smell a jasmine and say this is a jasmine fruit? Can you close your eyes and say this is jasmine and this is jackfruit? That intelligence is very limited, and this intelligence is not available even in the West, and this is causing a lot of problems because people are introduced to artificial things and artificial kind of smell, touch, and all these things. So they really don't know what natural things are, and it becomes very complicated, and this is the fundamental problem here. And that's not measured as an intelligence. If you measure this as an intelligence in the school system, then student kids will also be very healthy, and they go into a different dimension of the brain, such as, for example, the sound. We all can, if you can identify the different notes, sari gama pada ni sa. So like that, if you can identify the different notes, that is a different kind of intelligence. You have to be in that mode to identify, and so therefore you spend a lot of time in that energy. So you're so when you're into go into a dimension of this, like smell, sound, taste, etc., you're lost in that consciousness. It is close to the consciousness in that. So you are in a what you call the present. You cannot go, you cannot make a mistake, because you have to be present. For example, when you're eating, you can just eat with sensing the taste. So that means you're mindful. So automatically you become mindful. When you're singing, you're in the swarasthanas, and you cannot make a mistake because you have to be really conscious about that. So this is how you can say that is an intelligence. So, and you cannot neglect those kind of intelligence. And if that intelligence is measured, there will be so many intelligent people who are not known to the world today. So, for example, my mother, she does everything, most of the intelligence. She doesn't have a degree, and so it's a real problem. She's not recognized in the world, right? She has so much of intelligence potential, but she's not recognized as a person, like she, in a YouTuber or somebody. But today we could do. But I'm saying, so that kind of thing has not come to the whole world, and we always perceive that intelligence means only the small knowledge, and that is the biggest problem we have in understanding the whole level of even healing. Okay, so then the next form of intelligence is intuitions. So intuitions are different kind of knowledge, and that's a different kind of knowledge, which means, say for example, you get a dream, and then you find some kind of a thing in your dream, some patterns, right? You could be a dream interpreter, but those patterns come to be true, like um, you know, and this is a kind of intuitive intelligence that you have, and you cannot say, hey, this is all false, give me evidence based. Come on, this is another dimension. Perception, extrasensory perceptions, such as you can feel somebody, your family being hurt, somebody is not feeling well. So you sense that? Yes, you could sense in principle. If your family is hurt, or they're experiencing some problem, a close family like your parents or your kid, you can feel it. For example, your mother is suffering back in your country, hometown, and you are here, and suddenly something is serious happening. You can sense. You can sense from your home something happens. It could be reflected even in something breaking. you know this is because that is an intelligence. It is happening by itself. You can break the a cup, you're trying to grab a cup of water, you break the glass, you know and maybe a little accident thing happened, not big, but it is showing something be aware of. So these kind of intelligence also, this is an extrasensory intuitive intelligence that you can sense, right? So examples are, other examples, your kid is involving in drugs, but you have a sense for something is wrong. Somebody is really, is not, you will have a sense, and you don't have to see that, but you can feel it. Or your wife or a spouse, they are involved in adultery. That's a big sense. You can really sense that.